Stress, it's all about stress. So it's a state of mental or emotional strain or tension that is resulting from adverse or demanding circumstances. It's a normal body reaction. You see, stress happens to us all the time and we experience stress. The thing is that we experience stress physically, we experience stress emotionally, we experience stress intellectually. Hi, this is Clarity Coach Lucy, and this is Tuesday Talks at 3. This is the month of April where we celebrate the month of stress awareness, something that is so overlooked and underrated. Stress is real. It happens to us every single day, every single moment we're stressed about something. The minute that we want to take care of a situation, and then suddenly we find that we can't control it anymore, we start to get stressed. So it's very simple. When we think about the things we cannot control, when we think about things in the future that are not in the here and the now, we begin to get stressed. It's a normal thing. We should not be afraid about stress. The thing is that if we do not deal with our stresses in a particular way, then they can become very harmful. Now, in our last 2 episodes, because like I said, this is episode number 3, and today we're talking about healthy ways to handle stress. In our first session, which was titled, I Am Stressed, and there we acknowledged what stress is. We looked at the definition of stress. We looked at the causes of stress. We went further to look at the red flags of depression. Because that stress that is unchecked, that is not looked into, that is not managed well, could spiral into depression. It can be as easy as that. Right now you're going along your easy life. Yes, you have the stresses. Stresses are good for you. It increases hormones in your body. You get excited about it. At times you even execute beyond your capabilities because you were stressed about it. How many times have you had butterflies in your stomach and you thought you couldn't do this thing? But because of those butterflies in your stomach, you worked harder, you were careful, you were thorough in what you did, and therefore you delivered. So stress is a good thing. But like I say, if it is unchecked, guys, stress can lead to depression. Well, then we moved on from that session. We went on to session 2 where we talked about ways to avoid and relieve stress. And there we talked about just thinking about understanding our personality, because our personality can affect our stress levels depending who we are. And my guest host, and that is Patsy, I'll be bringing her up in a moment. Patsy then was telling us about 2 specific characteristics, that is your introvertedness and your extrovertedness, and the pros and the cons of being either or. And I want you to join us on our YouTube page, which is LMC Consultancy, for the recording of that particular session, because it was powerful. And I can see Kantai, you've joined us here again. Welcome, Kantai. I loved the way you engaged with us last time, and I do hope that you will be engaging with us. Patsy has already joined us. I will bring her on the screen shortly. Alicia, great to see you here. Really good. So today we are talking about healthy ways to handle stress. And just a small recap that in our last episode, we talked about understanding our personality. We talked about coping mechanisms, some coping mechanisms. Today we're going to look at healthy coping mechanisms as we go through the session, and then the importance of talk therapy. And I remember my guest talking about you are not alone, that the counselor is there to be able to listen to you and be able to give you some steps, some action plans that you can go and actually activate. And as you actually activate them, you begin to see a difference. However, we can bring you to the river, but we can't make you drink of it. So do you want to be able to apply these healthy ways to handle stress? The decision is yours. We're going to give you tips here today, and I'm just going to bring her up now. As I try to bring up Patsy, I just want to recognize that today, let's see, I can't see her over there. So let's just see, invite to join. We want to invite Patsy screen now. And as we're inviting her, it is Patsy's birthday today. Patsy, a very happy birthday to you. Blessings. And as we come to this day and we come to the end of this day, we are so happy that together we are making a difference. We're making a difference here in the space that we have with the talent that God has given us. So a happy birthday to Patsy, and I wish you all the best in your endeavors in this next year. May it be all that you wish it to be and even more. So just back to what we're talking about today. I have a question for you. What are you fixated on? What is that one thing you're concentrating on? For those of you who follow me, I keep on repeating that you must have something that you are concentrating on, because that thing that you concentrate on is where all your energy flows. If today you're thinking about something, think of it. If you're thinking about something that is going to go so well and you're so prepared for it and you're ready, because you are putting all that energy into it being ready, the chances are it's going to work out very well. Very, very well. However, there are times when we think about things negatively and we harp on in our minds about this thing that's going to go wrong. We are jinxing it, guys. So we are fixated on the thing going wrong. And guess what? The universe actually hears you and it goes wrong. So why don't we concentrate on the thoughts of things going right? On the thoughts that we do have the capability of doing things right. So, Patsy, are you there? I don't see you yet. Patsy, if you could just...
Yes.
We can't see you, Patsy. If you could just exit and then come back on again. We can hear the chatter in the back, Patsy, but we cannot see you. Sheila, good to see you here. Karibu sana. Today we are here talking about healthy ways to handle stress. And I just want to give an example of the things that we could be calling stress when other people are calling it the normal things. Because at the end of the day, what you are calling stressful and what I am calling stressful could be two totally different things. So here's a perfect example. I am now, hi Patsy, I can see you now. I am
Hi.
used to doing live sessions. Before, which was about 2 years ago, I was not comfortable in this space. So when somebody would tell me to go live on virtual, I would be so stressed because again, I'm a perfectionist. So I like things happening in a certain way. And on top of that, I'm an introvert, like what Patsy shared with us last episode. And I would be so stressed. But today, I am used to coming online, to going live. Like now with the little mishap that we are having, I would have been breaking into a sweat. I would be stressed. So today for you who is not used to coming online, you would be very stressed the way I was 2 years ago. But guess what? Patsy said something to us last episode about coping mechanisms. One of the things she said is refer to previous instances where there was stress, but guess what? You overcame the stress. And this is a coping mechanism. What did you do last time? Apply it this time. So for me now, I am not stressed coming online. Maybe I'll be stressed about my content, but for me to come online, the things that used to stress me, guys, was things that now I see are of such little value. I wondered what it was. And for those of you who've been following me, you'll remember what I said. I talked about the color of my eyes. I have bloodshot eyes. These are things I was concerned and stressed about. How will my eyes look? I was concerned about the wrinkles. My age now is wrinkle friendly. So I was concerned about the wrinkles and people seeing the wrinkles and commenting. Today, I embrace myself. The wrinkles don't worry me a lot. In fact, I carry them with pride. I was concerned about my teeth. As you can all see, I don't have a perfect set of teeth, but I'm comfortable with it now. And I smile. I show my teeth. I'm no longer stressed. So this can happen to you. The thing that you are stressed about here and now, when you look at it later on as something in the past, you will wonder what you were stressed about. So today, I'm just hoping that as we go through this session with Patsy, that it will come out very clearly that there are healthy ways to handle stress, especially life stresses. So there we see Patsy now. Patsy, there's an echo that is coming through. I don't know where that echo is coming through from. I don't know if there's another gadget in the room that is on in the room that you're in, but I guess we can progress and we can figure out where it's coming from. So my question was today, and continues to be, what are you fixated on? What is that one thing that is on your mind as we speak? And is it stressing you? And hopefully, as Patsy and I go through this session today, you will be able to answer this question, number one, what you're fixated on, and whether it is stressing you. But please share your answers, share your comments. Let us engage like we did in the last episode. Welcome, Patsy, and once again, a happy, blessed birthday.
Thank you, Lucy. I was just bending to switch off my computer, and I'm hoping that that noise is gone because it is my computer was on. So I'm just hoping that now it's a bit clear.
I hope so too. We will just wait to hear from the audience if there's any echo, and then we can see what to do about it. So, Patsy, we talked about all these great things in the last episode, you know, just understanding our personality, having those coping mechanisms, and the importance of talk therapy. However, how do we get to know that we are in that space? What are the things that we need to know and the things that we need to identify, Patsy? Karibu.
Thank you, Lucy, and I'm happy to be here. And today is my birthday. I thank God for another year added on my life. Thank you. Just like you have said, it is important that we know what is stressing us. And that is why we are going to talk about knowing your stressors. I'll not forget to say that stress is a normal situation that will always face us. But now when we get to know our stressors, it can be easy to cope with stress. And that is why we are talking about healthy ways of coping with stress, which will come later. We need to start with knowing your stressors. It is not easy to know your stressors, but again, it is easy to know your stressors. So the first thing you may need to do is you can have a stress journal, just like you have explained that you can look at how you have handled stress previously. But how will you do that if you don't have a stress journal? We're just learning here that it is possible to have a stress journal, and it's not that there is something called a stress. You just have a journal where you can write down your feelings when you're stressed. And once you write down your feelings, you can still go back even later and write down again how you were able to handle that stress. The same journal. Therefore, this journal it helps us to deal with stress later on, because we can still refer to it when we are stressed, maybe it's something else. But when you go back, it will help you to understand how you were able to handle. Maybe the situation may be different, but you will be able to know the stress patterns from your stress journal.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the other one is knowing your stresses. Also, you may need to understand your stressors, and therefore there are those stressors which we need to just accept. For example, when you lose a loved one, there's nothing much you can do about it, but you can have a support system, or you can still have a support system, maybe in church, you know, like using your faith to understand, because we all know that death is inevitable. But when you understand that this stressor it is not easy to accept, yes, but you will learn to accept when you have a good support system. Therefore, these are the stressors that you need to understand that it is good to it's possible to accept, because there's nothing you can do about it.
It's interesting, Patsy, that you bring up some stresses that we need to accept, because the sooner we realize it, it's not about us. It is what is happening. It has happened outside us. And if we get so entangled in it and we don't follow the due course, because if you've lost a loved one, there's a mourning process. It's okay to mourn. The minute we don't mourn, all we are doing is pushing this under the rug, and it'll come out on another day in a very negative way in that our body could be crashing. We could go into depression because the things we didn't handle at the right time in the right way. The one thing that I did not know was a stressor was rejection. And Patsy, I have talked about this a lot in my sessions. I was rejected in jobs where I knew in my mind and from my performance that I was doing well. But for one reason or the other, I was rejected. And before I came to realize that it was something I needed to come into full closure with, it stressed me. And I started to form a limiting belief around it that I wasn't good enough. I was now doubting myself and my capabilities. And this was a stressor. So there are certain things that we need to accept. Rejection will happen in life. You will not be accepted everywhere you go. And even if you're accepted, you can be rejected. For instance, you could be a young woman who is married today. You're very much in love, and your spouse begins to reject you. These are things that happen in life. There are some things now, whether we accept them or not, or we have coping mechanisms. I love it, Patsy, that you're bringing out that there are certain stresses that we may need to accept. And therefore, things like rejection is one of those things that we may need to accept. When death, loss of a loved one or a loved thing, it could be an object, you've lost something, it's something you may need to accept. Because if we do not check it, Patsy, those are the red flags for depression. Yes, please continue. I just thought I should put that one in there.
And thank you for bringing it out, because we are going to look at how you can cope with that kind of stress when we are looking at the healthy ways of coping with stress. Okay, the other stressor which you may need to do, when you want to know your stressors, there are those stressors that you can avoid. You can easily avoid. For example, if you're that person who is used to impulse buying, you can avoid this kind of thing. For example, you can avoid going to the supermarket without writing down the list of the things you're going to buy. And therefore, when you need to, when knowing your stressors, you will have to, and that's why, Lucy, the issue of self-awareness comes in every episode we talk. Because when you are self-aware, you know yourself. Maybe I know that when I go to town, or even when I'm passing those streets and I see something that is good, I need to tell myself that I have vowed that I am not going to buy anything outside my my list. And therefore,
Patsy, it is easier said than done. Can you imagine? I am in the city streets of Nairobi. It is 6 o'clock in the evening, and that is when the hawkers come and just pour their wares on the road. And such good value. You know, you can see it's a good quality product. It's going at an amazing amount of money. How am I going to avoid this? Because you are speaking about stressors that I may need to avoid. What kind of tips would you give me? How would I avoid that? And I'm a compulsive buyer.
With this economy, Lucy, I tell you, it will just be very easy for you to tell yourself, if I buy this, let's say you're buying a dress on the street, yet you're going to the supermarket to buy food for your children. So it is not easy. As you say, it is easier said than done. And I'm also one of those people who do impulse buying. Then when I go back home, I'm really regretting. And that's why now we are here learning. We are telling ourselves, when you know yourself, you know that it is along this street, this Kimati street, I will avoid this street. I'm not going to use this street. I'll just use the Tomboya street. I go to Naivas and I buy whatever I want to buy and go home. Although you say it's easier said than done, but we will practice, and I hope it will work for us. And since we are talking about stress,
So
we will practice.
we are avoiding the place, we are avoiding the street, we are avoiding what? We're avoiding people, because I could be having a friend of mine who also wants to buy. Okay, I understand, Patsy.
Or even, let's say, like if you're talking about a friend, friends can invite you out. You don't have money. So what do? You simply say, no. And remember, we talked about, well, your no should be a no. You say it calmly but firmly, because you're the one who knows your own problems, right?
Yeah.
So we move on to the other stressor, which now you may need to change. You know, these are stressors which you may need to change. For example, if you're having issues with weight loss, maybe you need to lose weight. So what happens? It's painful, but you're supposed to change so that you're not stressed. Maybe the doctor has told you that for you to take care of your health, you need to lose some weight. What do? You're supposed to go for exercises, right? You're supposed to look at the diet, and it is not easy. Therefore, this is the stress that you may need to change. And it may be painful, but at the end of it all, it will work for you. And especially where health is concerned, it is important that we know these stressors and we change for the better. Then the other one which we have is there's the one for you change your perception. You know, you change how you view things. You know, like you could be, when what we're talking about is trying to keep a positive outlook. Things may not be okay, yes, but just think positively. Remember, we also talked about positive self-talk. Therefore, when you know that this thing, whatever is stressing you, is giving you negative thoughts, look at it differently, and always hope for the best. Have this you call it, there's pessimism and optimism. So always have a positive outlook for everything. Like for example, if you get laid off from your work, because remember, we also have we had COVID, which many people lost their jobs. So when you find yourself that you have lost your job, you know, it is not within your control, but it is within your control. Your thinking process, your thoughts are within your control. Tell yourself, this is not the end of the world. Look at it, you know, positively, that I will find another job, or I will find something else to do. And of course, you never know, you might even find that you may find a better job than the one you lost. So it is all about perception. When you're faced with a stressful situation, it is not easy. We are not saying it is easy, but whatever you do with your thinking is what will make the situation better.
Yeah, Patsy. And I just wanted to add there, just pulling or continuing on the rejection that I received at my places of work. When I received them, just like you're saying, I knew it was the end of the world for me, because I had defined myself by these jobs. I had not worked on my self-awareness. I didn't know who Lucy was and how capable she was. Today, I'm a very different person. Do I miss working? I miss working in a team environment, and I especially miss the guarantee of a salary after every 30 days. I miss the guarantee of leave days after so many months. I miss the freedom of a Saturday and a Sunday, the freedom of a public holiday. Because now, as being self-employed, there's no guarantee of a check after 30 days. There's no guarantee that on a public holiday, I will stay away from my laptop on matters work. However, because of that rejection, I am who I am today in my next season. I am wiser. I can actually say, in fact, I was saying to somebody the other day, she has an amazing position in one of the companies that I worked in the past. And I said to her, if I will leave you with some advice, words of wisdom, while you are doing this and loving it and being passionate, find something that you love doing for yourself, which builds up you. Something for you, not for another company, not for your spouse, not for your children, and begin to engage in it today. Because, my dear, the day is coming when this season too shall come to an end. And when that season comes to an end, you do not want to find yourself in the situation that I found myself, because I had defined myself by my work. You want to find yourself in a situation that you know yourself, you're doing things that you enjoy, and life goes on. Again, it sounds easier said than done, but that is already a step that I know, wisdom that I'm able to impart on somebody, because I have walked that path. So today, if I was offered the same kind of jobs that I had before, my perspective, as you're saying, will be totally different. How I would carry out during my day. And if they rejected me tomorrow, I would not take it personally. It's not about me. I am still Lucy. I am still good at what I do. I can still stand and be counted. So, Patsy, I thought I would just hang in that one there on the perspective, because there's an aspect of the mindset that comes in. When you're in a stressful situation, how do you look at it? Do you look at it from a fixed mindset, or do you look at it from an abundance, open-minded mindset? That from this too, it shall pass and a good thing shall happen. For me, good things have happened. Go ahead, Patsy.
Okay, so another example on perspective, maybe we can say when you're faced with a big problem, you can break the problem into small problems. It is not okay. It's, as we say, it is easy said, but it's not possible. It's not easy to do it. However, I would like to just give this example. Like, for example, you want to learn something new, maybe a new skill. For example, you want to learn a foreign language. Nobody has. I mean, you're not supposed to know that.
I think we have lost Patsy for a minute there. What Patsy is about to tell us is that in learning a language, we can learn it for a certain few hours in a day. If we are going to learn your mother tongue, maybe like me, you don't speak your mother tongue, and you have decided that now you want to make a change in your life and learn your mother tongue, but then you get stressed by the fact that, where will I start? Because if I start with my mother tongue today, I needed to be younger to understand how the syllables are pronounced, how the language flows. It doesn't have to be like that. So Patsy wants to explain to us that you can take it a step at a time. If today you went in for 1 hour learning about this language, and tomorrow you did another 1 hour learning about the same language, and we continued in this way, you will find that the sum of those hours, you will find yourself already in the language, learning the language, in fact, mastering the language. The other example that I like to give is like what the Chinese say. You know, that's the story of the 3,000 steps, that a journey of 3,000 steps starts with that one step. And when you start with that one step, you have the opportunity to learn and slowly build up. So we shouldn't be stressed about that. When we are stressed, we are looking at situations and thinking, I am not up to this. I am not up to par. I cannot do this. But now you've known and you've understood exactly what your stressor is. So here, this is a stressor that you may need to change, that you don't need to do everything overnight. I see Patsy is coming back on. You don't need to do everything overnight. You can start things slowly. There's no pressure. It is only you who's going to give yourself that pressure to do things overnight. Oh, Patsy, welcome back. Sorry about that. We are just concluding on the things that we don't have to be pressurized about to do and complete today. And I concluded on your example of a language where we can learn, 1 hour today, another hour tomorrow, and the summation of those hours will find that we have achieved the goal. I gave the example of climbing a mountain. I gave the example of 3,000 steps. We start with one step today. These are things that we can do in life so that we don't get stressed. So stresses that we may need to change is the way we approach how we do things. But then, Patsy, the question is, in some cases, I may be presenting to you a certain way. For instance, I may be coming to work and I have certain behaviors that I am showing at work. Maybe I'm shouting at people. Maybe I am ignoring people in the office. And you in HR are actually disciplining me for whatever it is. Oh, I'm not reaching my targets. And this is something that happens a lot in our workplace. At home, the same thing. We have our children, we have our spouses, we have our house managers, and suddenly we see there are certain behaviors that don't make sense. Could this be something that is directly subjected because of stress or as a result of stress? What could it be?
Thank you, Lucy, for bringing out that. And that is where we have, normally we have what we call presenting versus the underlying problem. And this is very common, especially in counseling. You can find a client who comes to you with a problem. And as a counselor, like when a client comes to you, they're confused, and that is why they're seeking your services. So as a counselor, you're supposed to understand, because there are those clients who have a presenting problem, yes. However, there's that underlying problem which is causing this problem. You have brought in the issue of an employee who could be presenting weird behaviors at work, like, for example, let me not say weird behavior, let me just say presenting problems. So, for example, this employee has issues with absenteeism.
Yeah.
Or maybe the absenteeism is being caused by alcoholism. You know, the pattern will go back, and the alcoholism is being caused by a problem that is maybe this person is facing at home. Maybe they have a spouse who is unwell. They have a parent who is unwell, and we know about these terminal illnesses. Maybe they have a parent who is terminally ill. So they are stressed. But the presenting problem will be absenteeism. The presenting problem will be alcoholism. So it is important we go back and find out what could be causing this absenteeism. And the only way we can do that is to seek to understand. If you are in a position, you are a supervisor, it is important that you seek to understand as opposed to judging. You know, you might just judge this person. Maybe you give them a warning letter. Maybe you give them all the warning letters that are available. At the end of it all, the person can even be dismissed. And yet you never went back to find out why this person has a problem. And that's why we are bringing out this issue of presenting versus underlying problem. And the only way we are still saying is for you to seek to understand. And again, even for us who may be going through this problem, let us talk about it, because people are not angels to understand what you're going through. Talk. And that is why the issue of talk therapy comes in now. When you have a problem, seek to be understood. And the only way you can be understood is for you to talk. The other issue, as parents, we have our children. And our children, sometimes they communicate something which we may not be understanding. And that's why we are talking about presenting problems. I mean, presenting issues. Your child can come home, maybe they are withdrawn, and you do not know why they are withdrawn. You have not even sought to understand what is bothering this child. There are those children who have already made some milestones in life. You find that this child is now presenting like retrogressive milestones. A child who had even stopped bedwetting, all of a sudden they start bedwetting. And for you as a parent, you get so annoyed, you ask yourself, you even scold this child because maybe the child is big, could even be 12 years and above, and you find that they are bedwetting. So you will ask yourself, why is it happening? You will even scold this child in front of his siblings, who are even maybe younger than him. So as parents, what we are saying is, let us seek to understand what our children may be communicating. Children sometimes are bullied in school. And for you as a parent, you don't want to listen. You put a barrier before you, and your child might find it so difficult to talk to you. So Lucy, what we are saying, seek to understand. And even for other people, for us, for people who have problems, also seek to be understood by doing what? By talking.
Yeah, that is so beautiful, and especially now, the fact that we have our children at home. It is that time of holidays. Yes, we are busy as parents. The borders have opened, economy has opened now, and we are making up what we lost in the last 2 years. But do not forget that your children were traumatized as you were during the time of the pandemic, when everybody was locked up at home. And they could not go out, they could not see their friends, they didn't know what was happening. Perhaps they saw you projecting your own, presenting and underlying problems, and they didn't know how to deal with it. And maybe you already have somebody in the office who is speaking to you, somebody like Patsy, who is able to speak with you. You have rooms where you can go and express yourself, maybe a room just to go and scream, you know, and maybe just cry. But your child may not have that outlet. So this child may be at home, they're quiet, and you're punishing this child for being quiet and not talking, instead of understanding that this child perhaps has an underlying stressor. And the underlying stressor could be trauma. The underlying stressor could be bullying in school. The underlying stressor could be that they feel that they're not up to something. But just be careful of the children that you have at home and be aware of what is happening in their lives. Encourage them to speak, show them a safe area, safe space to speak. Even if this child is a 3-year-old, you will wonder why this child is crying all the time. Or you find a 5-year-old, like Patsy says, is retrogressing and beginning to wet the bed. These are signs that there is an underlying stressor. And it is for you as a parent to stop, hit the pause button, and engage your child in a conversation, and just try your best to seek to understand. You may be going through your own stresses, and I totally understand. Stresses happen to everybody. Remember, you are not alone. Thank you so much for bringing out the stressors, the presenting ones and the underlying ones, Patsy. But now we want to know, as we're coming to the end, we want to know, what are the healthy stress coping mechanisms? What are some things? Because you've pointed out quite a few things. You've talked about, and I look at my notes here, you've talked about knowing your stressors, you know, and journaling it down, journaling down your feelings, and using this as a referral to look at your stress pattern and how we can be able to manage them as we go forth. What did I do last time? Can I do it today? You brought out 3 important areas. There are those accepting ones that we have to accept, or we need to consider to accept. They're the ones we have to consider avoiding. And the ones that we know we have to consider changing, because change is inevitable. We then talked about presenting and underlying life stressors. But the question is, Patsy, can you give us some tips on how we can manage this stress in a healthy way? Understanding that stress happens to us every day in different kind of levels. What are some healthy ways that we can use to handle this?
Thank you, Lucy. Just like we said, you'll always be faced with stressful situations in life. But there are healthy ways on how to cope with this stress. Remember when we started, we talked about physical symptoms, emotional symptoms. And some of the symptoms we said that were physical, we talked of, you know, your body tensing, because it's all in the mind. So when your mind is tired, of course, your body will also get tired. And one of the ways that we can, one of the healthy ways we can cope with this is to, you know, to have those relaxation techniques, whereby, for example, even as before we start talking, sometimes you can find that, okay, I'm going to talk to people, yes, but you are tensed, you know. So when you breathe, you take a deep breath. Believe me, Lucy, yeah, I'm sure you have tried it. After some time, you just feel relaxed. It is not okay. It is not the same as, because the stress of talking is not. We are not saying that it's so much. It's not intense, but we are talking about something that could be affecting you so much. You can also consider doing a few exercises on your own. If you're able to afford to go to a gym, you can go and do aerobics. And I'm telling you, this works, because even me, sometimes when I'm stressed, I do that, and I know it works. Okay, you might say that you're so stressed, maybe something is stressing you, you might not even think of going to the gym. Just take a hot bath, just treat yourself. Take a hot bath, take deep breath, and of course with time, or at intervals, you breathe in and then out. Don't forget to breathe out. So you breathe in and breathe out.
Yes.
The other technique, or the other coping mechanism, for example, you remember when we talked about stressors that we need to accept, things that have happened to us that are beyond our control. It is important to have a support system of family, a support system of friends. And I always talk about friends that you trust. Don't just talk about your issues to people you do not trust. Talk to someone you trust, because they are those who can make it worse for you. You will find that if it is something that is confidential, you have shared with somebody, when you hear somebody else talking about it, it will make it worse. It will just be like adding we normally say an injury to something. Yes. So talk to friends that you trust. Then the other coping mechanism is, I will not stop talking about positive self-talk, because it is you and it starts with you. So let go those negative thoughts and replace them with positive thoughts. And adjust your attitude. If you had a fixed mind on something, if you're just thinking that it will not work, start practicing, start talking to yourself positively and telling yourself, I will make it, I will make it. And I know every day you wake up in the morning, you tell yourself, I will make it. And like, even you can quote the Bible and say that you will make it through Christ, who makes everything possible. So it is important, whatever you tell your mind, of course, it's going to radiate on your body. Then the other coping mechanism is learn stress coping mechanism. We have the internet. You can Google. You can, and for me, I do that most of the time. When I feel that something is not right and I need to get information, I will just go to Google. I will ask. Google, you can even ask. The only thing you cannot do is to ask Google in your mother tongue. But you will just ask Google anything and it will tell you what you're supposed to do. The other coping mechanism is be flexible. Be flexible. Try new things. Like if let's say you are stressed and you feel that you can do something else. Like you can try a new hobby. You can even cook. You can even read a book. And of course, I'm sure Lucy, you will tell me that when you're stressed, it's not easy to read a book. But I'm just saying, try something that you like. Something you like doing. Try new things. Then the other coping mechanism, which we will still talk about, even if we talked about under stressors, is having a journal, writing down your thoughts, writing down your feelings. When you put down your feelings, it is a way of dealing with your feelings. And when you put it down, it's like you are talking to somebody. Then you try to get enough sleep. And I'll still go back to the exercises. When you do a lot of physical exercises, your body gets tired. By the time you're going to sleep, you don't even need you don't take time before you sleep. Therefore, it is important that you get enough. You need to rest. You need to rest your brain. You know, I'm sure, Lucy, you know that an overworked brain is worse than when you work yourself out physically. You know, like using your brain more, you get more tired than even doing physical work. And when you're stressed, it is your mind at work. So it is important that we get enough sleep.
I like the you're putting out there, Patsy, because at times we overlook them, we assume them, and especially as women. Sorry for the gentlemen who are on the session right now, but for women, we tend to be natural, okay, nurturers, yes, and we want to fix everything. You know, whatever it is, we have an anecdote for it. We want to fix it, and we end up forgetting ourselves. And what happens is that we overwork our emotional levels, and we become so spent. On top of that, we don't take enough rest. While everybody else is eating, you know, we are concerned about what they're eating. If you look at like over the weekend now, we have been with our families, you will find that the woman would naturally be stepping back and ensuring that the family that she loves, the people that she loves, she's being a nurturer to them. And she forgets herself. And therefore, we do not take the exercise we need, eat the food that we need unless we do it intentionally. Unless now, after this session, we say, okay, you know, Patsy mentioned. Now you intentionally go back to your gym or go back to walking. You intentionally go back to drinking your water. Now you're thinking about yourself. But all these are ways that we can handle ourselves in a healthy way, Patsy. I'd like us, because it would not be fair if we just looked at healthy ways, and I know that is what our topic for the day was. I would like you to touch on the 5 minutes that we have remaining. I want you to touch on the unhealthy ways that perhaps we handle stress, because at times we may not even recognize that we are applying unhealthy ways. So Patsy, in your experience as a counselor, what are a few of the unhealthy ways that you can share with us that we tend to handle stress with to our detriment?
Thank you, Lucy. Before I go to the unhealthy ways of coping, I will not forget to talk about seeking help. It will be very unfair for me as a counselor not to talk about seeking help. If you are overwhelmed and you find that you're not able to take care of your stress on your own, you know, like self-help on your own, seek help. A counselor will help you understand the behaviors that contribute to your stress. And you will develop an action plan with the counselor, and you'll be able to handle your stress. Then we can move now to the unhealthy ways of handling stress. We all know that when you're stressed, it is very easy for you to overindulge, and especially for those people who use or consume alcohol. You know, there are those people who maybe they are just social drinkers, but when they are stressed, they will go to a drinking place. And because you are so stressed, you will find yourself taking in more, because all you want to do is just to numb that pain. There are those also who smoke. You will find that these ones now, they overdo it. And we know it is not right. In fact, it is not even good to smoke, right? So if you're stressed, that you have seen people who just, they just smoke cigarette after cigarette. And that is sometimes one way of knowing somebody who is stressed. Therefore, we are saying that is an unhealthy coping mechanism. There are those habits somebody may be having, like, you know, gambling habits. That is an unhealthy way of coping. We also have people who, when they're stressed, they either eat too much or eat too little. This is harmful to your health, and it's an unhealthy way of coping. Then there are those who can spend the whole day and the whole night watching TV, and it's because they're stressed. So they're just trying to take care of their stress by watching TV, and especially the young people. So when we notice these habits, especially in our children, you know, like there are those children who even have their laptops in their rooms, and you'll be so surprised. You'll just see the light is on because maybe you do not know that they're stressed, but they're just watching whatever it is they are watching because they are stressed. Then there's also the issue of oversleeping or not getting enough sleep. It's either somebody is sleeping too much or they're not getting enough sleep. This is harmful to your health. And last but not least, when we are faced with stress, there are those people who will just blame others. You know, you don't take responsibility. So one of the ways of maybe we can add on the positive side of coping with stress is take responsibility of your actions. And a bad way of coping in this case, it is blaming, arguing. That those people even who fight. You've seen even at places of work, there are those people who are violent, they don't want to reason. So it is a bad way of coping.
Yeah, those are really unhealthy ways. Thank you so much for taking us through that. And I thought it was important that we do that because at times we don't realize that the habits that we are exhibiting are actually unhealthy habits. These are habits where we have formed a coping mechanism. A coping mechanism doesn't necessarily need to be positive. Coping mechanism can also be a negative thing. And Patsy has explained to us about the overindulging in things. We always say everything in moderation. So whether you're going to have your cigarette, your alcohol, everything in moderation. We even have the medicines that we are abusing because we begin to abuse medicines because we are stressed. I am stressed, so I can't sleep. I take sleeping pills. I am stressed. My muscles are all tired and tight. So I end up taking muscle relaxants and my body begins to get used to this. I overindulge. And for those of you who are familiar with the anatomy of the body, you are messing up your organs as a result, your kidney, your liver, because of this. And you pay the ultimate price later on in life. So these are unhealthy ways. And now that you have these unhealthy ways, at least we can go back now to looking at the healthy ways to coping with stress. And today we looked at 3 main healthy ways that will help us. And one of them is knowing your stressors. Patsy, I love the fact that you said writing it down. You know, it gives it reason, it gives it meaning. Writing it down so that you can refer to it later. And you know, these are the things that stress me. And you can be able to say it or know it in your mind. You're going into a situation, it could be public speaking, you know it's going to stress you. You know that's your stressor. What did you do last time? Patsy has told us, take a deep breath. Maybe something as simple as taking a deep breath will deliver you. Maybe it is preparedness. Maybe it is working out before. Maybe it is ensuring you've eaten a protein-rich diet so that you have the energy before you speak. Just be aware of your stressor. Know it, identify it, and work with it. The other one was the presenting versus the underlying stress. And this could be a topic for a full day during a seminar. But my takeaway here today, Patsy, is our children. Yes, our spouses are there, our partners are there, our workmates are there. But I want to look at the future generation. The generation that is traumatized for whatever reason today. And we as parents are not present to see that they are traumatized and that whatever they are presenting is not the underlying issue. And thank you for saying that we are not alone. Definitely we can go to counselors. Counselors are there. Patsy is here. And Patsy is one of those people that you can approach and she can help you. Then we had healthy stress coping mechanisms and we went through them. The exercising, the sleeping, the adjusting your attitude, being flexible. There were so many of them. We'll be uploading this video on our YouTube page, LMC Consultancy, to allow you to take time to take it in, to digest it. The question today was, what are you fixated on? And is it stressing you? I am hoping now you have realized the things that you're fixated on. Is it one of those stressors that you need to accept? You just need to accept. Is it one of those stressors that you need to avoid? Is it one of those stressors that you need to change? Things need to change in your life. The decision is yours. We have brought you to the water. Only you can drink. Well, there you have it. 3 great ways to help you manage stress and to be able to have a healthy way of doing it. You are not alone. Patsy has said it. I am saying it. I am saying it again. You are not alone. Help is available. Just reach out for help. Don't let it get to the red flags of depression. You lose yourself in depression. You don't want to get there. And if you're already there, have a support system, like Patsy says. So our next episode is going to be about mental wellness, which is as important as physical health. And you don't want to miss this. Patsy and I will be back for our last episode of the stress situation, episode number 4. I encourage you to join us. I encourage you to engage. I encourage you to share, because somebody somewhere needs this message. So on my YouTube channel, you will find all 1, 2, and today's episode 3. Please share, like, subscribe, of course, as we continue with the month of April. And did you know, Patsy, that this is also my birthday month, you know? So I'll be celebrating my birthday next Tuesday. Can you believe that, Patsy? Yours is this Tuesday,
Nice.
mine is next Tuesday. So you'll be wishing me the happy birthday at that time. My
Yes, I
book
will.
is out, as you can see. My book is out. It is available on Amazon. I am getting it published locally, and therefore it will be available locally soon. Just waiting to get the final things. It is 4 o'clock on top of the hour. I want us to meet each other next week, next episode. Until then, let us help build each other, and let us be kind to ourselves. Bye-bye now.
Bye.